Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Ertman. I'm the president of the Rotary Club of Portland, and it is a pleasure to have you all here today for our weekly membership online video meeting. In one of the posts this past week of Rotary Voices site, that is the official blog of Rotary International, Rotarian Joe Oaten, who is the governor of Rotary District 9212 in Nairobi, Kenya, he reiterated what I keep hearing Rotarians say worldwide. What distinguishes defining moments in our history is not the nature of the crisis itself, but rather the quality of the decisions that we make. And he lists out how these decisions are made by our guiding principles as Rotarians. But when I paused, when I read these following words, so he's speaking about sharing messages of hope, and he said that reminding people that together we will prevail, and that the disruption in our lives is not only momentary, but it is also a crucial part of continuity. And I thought, wow. So when you think about our club membership, our club fellowship, and our service work in the community and abroad, I hope that you would consider the crucial part of continuity, that maintenance and importance in that consistency of our actions, of our fellowship and of that service, because it is that unique continuity that Rotarians bring to this health crisis. And it's a significant and valuable part of being a member of this 115-year-old international service organization. Now, please welcome Rotarian Wes Harper to give this week's reflection.
Thank you, President Kate. Greetings, Rotarians and guests, and I miss you. Some of you may have seen in the April 12th Oregonian, that's a Sunday, some pandemic poems by Kim Stafford, our Oregon Poet Laureate. If you didn't see those, I would recommend you take a look at them. Today, I'd like to share with you two poems that weren't in the Oregonian. The first is Old Familiar. In pandemic times, when numbers fill the news, so many sick or dead, and you hunker down, sheltering in place, counting the days, puttering around. Is it rain? Gray skies that make you feel under the weather? A moody sag? Heavy step? No! The first twinge when you swallow sore and you look up wide-eyed. Is this it? Have I joined the count? Am I stepping the hero's journey of doom? But then, oh, hallelujah, your nose begins to run, and like a trumpet, you blow and blow, reveling in tissue with your old dear friend, the common cold. Come round like a bad uncle you once shunned, but now could kiss. The second poem could have been written for Rotarians. Pandemic Coffee Restoration Ritual. A heaping dose of darkness, a splendor pour of light, a ringing spoon of silver transforming wrong to right. Deep inside the darkness, let a glimmer be revealed, a slender path ahead to where we will be healed. Dark and light together, loving how they swirled. Now you've had your coffee, go repair the world. That's it.
Thank you so much, Wes. Thank you so much. Would you be able to, afterwards, perhaps later this week, we could post on our social media, give a little more information of the title of those poems and who wrote those poems, and maybe we can provide links to them on our site later on.
Yes, I can do that.
That would be great. Thank you. Those were both so wonderfully appropriate for right now.
Thanks.
If any of you out there would like to be a participant in one of our videoed weekly meetings, please don't hesitate to reach out to Siobhan or to Corinne and let us know if you too would like to give our meetings reflection. Now I'd like to welcome any virtual guests. Thank you for turning into our weekly membership meeting. And I would also like to extend a happy anniversary to everyone who became a Rotarian in the month of April. You can see the membership April anniversary list in that email that was sent along with the video link to watch this video, or you can also see it on our website any time of the month under the header of membership. As always, fellow Rotarians, please make the effort to reach out to those that are celebrating their Rotary anniversary this month and thank them for their years of service above self. Now, please welcome Rotarian Don Livingston to present the 2020 Environmental Achievement Award.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. This year's winner of the Environmental Achievement Award is the Eco School Network, which is the audacious undertaking of Amy Higgs and her team of coordinating 150 parent leaders at close to 90 Portland area elementary schools to inspire and instruct kindergarteners to sixth grade kids about the responsible stewardship of their schools and their homes. Her ethos was a runaway winner for our Planet Earth Committee, as it embraces many of the values that we have here at Rotary. The runner-up this year was Sparrowhawk Native Plants, whose mission is to repair and rebuild our local ecosystem from the ground up. On a side note, Amy's efforts grew out of the teachings and directions of Jean and Dick Roy, whose Northwest Earth Institute was the very first winner of our award back in 1997. So, Amy, I would like to virtually hand you this award and wish you the best going forward.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you, Don. This is, when you open it, this is beautiful. Here, check it out. So if any of you need anything while you're stuck at home, you should let Don know, because he knows how to teleport stuff. Thank you all. I'm really honored to accept this award on behalf of all the parents and students in our network who have made their schools healthier and greener. And I hope that hearing about what they're doing will be a little bright spot in these difficult times. I personally have been a huge fan of Rotary for a long time. I grew up in rural Maine. In high school, I had never left the state and was fortunate to win a scholarship to study abroad in France for a year, thanks to the Rotary Club of Sebago Lake, Maine. That was a defining experience for me that really opened my eyes and built my confidence and kind of set me on a different trajectory. And just this week, I was just video chatting with one of my high school friends in France. Our families got to meet over Skype, and our kids, didn't speak the same language, but they saw the other family going through the same things, being stuck in our houses, and it just made the world feel really small. After that call, my daughter asked if she could study abroad too. So I know you all hear stories of your impact all the time, but just wanted to remind you of those positive ripple effects that kind of go on for decades. So thank you for that. If you are not familiar with the Eco School Network, we help kids practice environmental stewardship every day at school. Like Don mentioned, we have a volunteer workforce of about 140 parent leaders in 77 schools in Portland, Beaverton, Westland, Wilsonville, and North Clackamas. Together, they are engaging about 1/6 of Oregon's elementary students in environmental stewardship. So how it works is that we train parents who work with students to design and launch a project that makes their school greener and healthier. For example, they start veggie gardens, they plant pollinator gardens, schoolyard habitats, they lead walk and bike to school campaigns, and they reduce a lot of waste. This past year, we had some school waste fellows that reduced their cafeteria waste by an average of over 54% per school. So then after our training, the parents join their local Eco School Network district, which is kind of like the Rotary's local club, and they get together regularly with the other leaders in that district to support each other and to make change on the district level as well. Our Portland parents right now are drafting a new set of policies in coordination with PPS staff. They're proposing new practices for buildings and grounds, cafeterias, transportation, and new construction, which actually includes ambitious targets for net zero school buildings, which we'll hear more about from Stefan. I want you to know that our parents and students are really grateful for this award, especially right now while we're all physically isolated for this 50th anniversary of Earth Day. A lot of their school Earth Day celebrations had to be canceled that they were planning. And it just feels really good to be appreciated and to see people joining together virtually in solidarity for our planet and for our kids' future. I think that one of the silver linings of this crisis is that we are getting some practice living a little bit gentler on the planet, right? We're buying less, we're driving a lot less, we're kind of slowing down, taking more walks in the woods. And when the suffering is lessened, we're kind of on the other side of this. I hope that we can continue some of these practices. So thank you again for elevating our work. I hope that this award creates opportunities for us to engage new people in our work, new parents, students, new Rotarians. If you would like to learn more about what we're doing, you can email me at amy@ecoschoolnetwork.org, or you can go to our website, which is also just ecoschoolnetwork.org, and click on events. Under events, we have a couple things coming right up. Right now, we're leading a youth Speak Out Earth Day poetry and spoken word contest, or a challenge. And actually, Kim Stafford, the poet laureate that authored those articles that Wes read to us earlier, will be curating a new poem to the earth crowdsourced by student poets. And that's open to any student in the state of Oregon, K-12. We also have a Stand for the Earth, Stand for Our Children celebration coming up on June 5th that's open to the public. We'd love to have any of you join us for that, or just learn more about our work. So again, I just want to thank you so much for this. Thanks, Kate.
Absolutely, and I neglected to get everybody to applaud. Congratulations on your award.
Thanks.
And I look forward to hearing more about your organization next year on Earth Day, and hopefully we will be all back together in person again.
I hope so.
I would now, I would now like to announce that there are 4 spots on the Portland Charitable Trust Board that will be open July 1st, 2020. To be eligible, a nominee must have been a club member for at least 2 years prior to assuming office on July 1st of 2020. And the nominations for these spots are Shelley Kane Stockman, Kim Cash, Jana Cole, and Robert Kraft. Any further nominations can be emailed to our Executive Director, Corinne DeTorres, at Corinne, CORINN, at rotarypdx.org. Now, nominations close this Thursday, April 23rd, so you will need to get those nominations in, and the vote will take place next week via email. So watch your inbox on Tuesday, the 28th, for the information of how to vote. Now, again, I would like to welcome Rotarian Don Livingston as today's Chair of the Day.
This is our Earth Day celebration at Downtown Rotary Club. So for our speaker today, we have Stefan Aiguier, founder of Green Hammer and last year's winner of our Environmental Achievement Award. Stefan started Green Hammer in 2002 and has grown into a full-service environmental design and construction company, which has built nearly 4 dozen eco-friendly homes and has earned numerous environmental awards. In 2017, he led the company through the rigorous process of becoming a B Corp, where you practice what you preach from an environmental perspective. Green Hammer was ranked 16th on the 2019 Business Journal's fastest growing private companies list and was recognized as a 2020 Real Leader Impact Award winner, along with Patagonia and Tesla. Stefan got a Bachelor in Economics from the University of Vermont and has lived here in Portland since 2002 when he started his company. He lives with his daughter Olive, who is 11, and he coaches her basketball team. His presentation today is titled Why Net Zero? Please give a warm Rotary virtual welcome to Stefan Aiguier.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate that. I should mention I'm a lacrosse coach. I wish I could coach basketball, but haven't been able to figure that one out yet. All right, so let me just share this screen with you all and get my presentation started. So I think we've got that going. All right. Well, hello everyone, and yeah, thank you, Kate and Dawn and Amy for the accolades. I hope this all finds you safe and healthy. I did have a 47-year-old friend with asthma pass away from COVID-19 a couple of weeks ago, so I really do appreciate everyone doing their best to social distance and keep our hospital ICUs functioning and everyone around us as safe as they can be. So sorry that I couldn't be with you all in person today. I promise it would have been way more amazing. So, you know, just temper that with however this goes. But you'll at least be safe. I won't be spitting on any of you and spewing out as I spew out passion for zero energy buildings. And yeah, so at Greenhammer, we believe that every building is an opportunity to improve people's health, comfort, and long-term resiliency. That's why we're so passionate about zero energy design and have been designing and building about 30,000 square feet a year for the past 3 years of zero energy buildings. And it's part of a much larger growing zero energy marketplace. And today I want to share some reasons why zero energy buildings are becoming more common, more affordable in today's market, and why zero communities are more resilient, especially in time of crisis. So first and foremost, what is a zero energy building? So zero energy buildings are low energy buildings or homes capable of producing all the energy they consume over the course of a year from on-site renewable energy resources like the photovoltaic panels you see here on the screen. Because zero energy buildings use a fraction of the energy of a typical building and produce what little energy needs they have through on-site renewables, owners pay basically no electricity bills. So that's pretty awesome. So here is a geekier slide, just kind of showing you a little bit more about how this works. But essentially, bottom line is that zero energy homes, typically all electric. Keep things brief. I'm not going to go deep into all the components of an all electric home, but we can follow up with that maybe with questions after or emails. But today I wanted to talk to you about kind of the qualitative and benefits and details of a zero energy building. Essentially, the home is always connected to the grid. And so it's always going to be feeding energy when the sun is out directly to the utility grid. It's not actually using it inside the home. It's going to feed that energy to the grid. And when the sun's not out, it's going to be drawing energy from the grid. So in the summer, you're pumping a lot of energy out, and in the winter, you're sucking a lot of energy in. But essentially, they're typically grid-tied buildings, and they have these net meters. So it's not just solar power, which is why we don't see a lot of zero energy homes. The issue is that the average, for instance, a home in Oregon is going to need about 1.5 times the amount of roof area on its roof filled with solar panels to be able to meet zero energy, to produce as much energy as that home would need or to offset it in a year. And so that's a real problem. Clearly can't have 1.5 times the amount of roof area covered in solar panels, plus those need to face south. So we have to save about 50 to 75% of the energy through some pretty strict energy conservation measures. So I'm going to get into some of those details in just a bit. But also, I want to cover the concept of a zero-ready home. So zero-ready basically means that the home has done all of the energy conservation measures to make that solar panel system small, but it doesn't have the solar panels, either because you didn't make the investment or because maybe there isn't the solar access available. But you're going to hear some more and more about zero-ready homes in the future because change is coming. So in 2017, to keep up with the International Energy Efficiency Conservation Code, and to keep up with our neighbors, frankly, California and Washington that are already well along this same route. Governor Kate Brown issued Executive Order number 1720, and that's basically saying that all new single-family homes must meet Department of Energy Zero Ready by October 2023. So bottom line, this stuff is coming, and if you hear more and more about it in the news, that's maybe one reason why. But let's talk about some zero energy just design strategies. So kind of first and foremost, you want to make a thermos when you make a super efficient home, because if you're going to save 50 to 70% of the energy, most energy is used with a heating and cooling system. So first thing we do is we super insulate the feedback there. See that here on the outside of the building envelope is this continuous insulation. And also kind of key to a airtight building is an airtight layer. So we typically use weather resistant barriers on a building to make that airtight layer. And you can see that kind of shown here as this red line continuous, and it connects to the windows going underneath the slab in this case, everything else. We're showing the insulation, I should mention, on the outside of the building. We do actually insulate the cavities, and people in the zero energy movement do insulate like a standard home, but then we typically add extra insulation on the outside of the buildings as well. And that does a few things, but it makes sure that, like a thermos, the building is thermal break free. So there's just continuous insulation everywhere. There's not kind of wood translating and losing energy through the building envelope and that sort of thing. So once we have a nice thermos that's airtight and super insulated, we want some fresh air. So, you know, with an airtight home, you can always ventilate with windows, but it's not always going to be the most comfortable thing to do. So a zero energy home typically installs a fully dedicated heat recovery ventilation system. And so what that is going to do is a heat recovery ventilation system is a building scale ventilation system that it's going to both filter and condition incoming air. And you're essentially providing continuous fresh filtered air to bedrooms and living areas while tempering it with the exhaust air that you're going to continuously exhaust out of the kitchen and living spaces. So you're going to have air that's constantly leaving the building, and that's going to temper the air that's constantly coming into the building and feeding fresh air to living spaces and bedrooms. The beauty is that those systems also have to filter their air as it comes in for the heat exchanger, and I'll get into that in a minute. But these are typically always on. They use about 40 watts of energy continuously and about 90% efficient at keeping the heat in the air. So they lose about 10% of the temperature of that air when it's leaving the building. Next big piece is heat pumps. So we're typically heating and cooling the air as well as the hot water with these super advanced heat pumps. And the reason for that is that they are 2 to 4 times more efficient than electric resistance. So it's like 200%, 400% efficient. They're super efficient. It's advanced technologies. They're basically taking free energy that's already in the air, taking it out of the air and using refrigerants and pumping them into the home to either cool or to heat the home, also to deal with your hot water. So we carefully size the mechanical systems. They're typically, you know, almost 1/10 the size of a standard home system, because to save all the energy, we have to make that load really small. The last thing we do is we use Energy Star lighting and appliances, so a lot of LED lights and appliances. So that's all really cool. But the really cool stuff actually is what we found doing this for, you know, these types of buildings for almost 20 years now, but really kind of diving into the details and doing data, basically collection a lot of the buildings, we're finding some really cool benefits. And so one really cool benefit is they're a little bit more health focused. So when you have these heat recovery ventilation systems. The beauty is that to do really good heat recovery in that ventilation, you have to have super advanced air filters, because you can't get the heat exchangers dirty. So a zero energy home has constant fresh air through a heat recovery system, and that air is super well filtered. So it means, just bottom line is that you're kind of getting this constant, continuous, fresh filtered air, which is super important. The EPA has done studies on basically a few million homes over the years, but one of the consistent themes is that we found the indoor air quality, as measured by PM 2.5, I'll get to that in a minute, is about 2 to 5 times dirtier than outdoor air. So that means, and if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. We have a lot of sources of indoor air contaminants, like the shoes we walk in on and the dust we bring into a home, our pets, the pet dander, the things that the pets bring into the home. When we cook, some of us, like me, tend to cook with a lot of olive oil. I create a lot of smoke sometimes in my home. And so we have a lot of sources, things like interior humidity, which can also create molds, a lot of things that can bring, your air quality down in a home. And especially if you have hard to clean surfaces like carpet, it tends to get trapped in a home and has a hard time getting out. Because our primary ventilation system, and the code required ventilation system in the state of Oregon right now, is a bathroom fan. So usually we're not getting a lot of fresh filtered air through our bathroom fan. Air goes out, and then outdoor air comes in, maybe through leakage in the building envelope, through our crawl space, our attics. Bottom line is, we just tend to make contaminants in the air, and we don't tend to clean them out. So the beauty, again, is when you have a heat recovery ventilation system and the building's super tight, you really are able to control that interior climate and keep that air fresh and filtered. What that does is it reduces primarily PM 2.5. So that's particulate matter that's 2.5 microns or smaller. So for some of you that have hair out there, your hair is about 70 microns thick. And so 2.5 microns, you really shouldn't be able to see. And so as we get like smog and smoke, that's going to have a lot of PM 2.5. If there's an air stagnation event, that's going to be ranked against the PM 2.5 in the air. You can see it in Weather Underground apps and things like that will report PM 2.5. So when I talk about the EPA saying it's 2 to 5 times dirtier inside, they're really measuring PM 2.5. And we've been measuring with students at PSU and Oregon State University. We've been doing some measurements with PM 2.5 and zero energy buildings in Oregon. We're finding that it's about 30% to 50% cleaner inside these buildings than outside. And that's really important because PM 2.5 can create, asthma potentially, and also increase asthma attacks, worsens heart disease problems, and ultimately impairs your immunity. The beauty of a heat recovery ventilator, the advanced ones, is they use MERV 13 filters, which are almost the level of hospital filters. And they can do all kinds of things. They're going to filter out allergens like dust, pollen, but also biohazards like mold spores, bacteria, pathogens, and viruses. It's been a hot topic these days. So beyond the really fresh air you get all the time, another really cool thing is that zero energy buildings are super comfy. It just makes sense. If you have like a super insulated building envelope, then the interior air temperature is going to be really much more consistent. It takes just SIP's energy to heat or cool the space. So the other thing we do is we use triple pane windows. Typically, we're going to use these tilt-turn windows. And the reason for that is they have 5 locking points around the window when you shut the handles, and that makes them super airtight too, which airtight is really important. And they have these really cool ventilation modes. So they tilt vent mode or turn, where they open in, where you can have even more ventilation, cool thing about tilt is when they tilt in at night, if you have those windows open, like on the first floor, they still have these bars that keep them secure. So you don't have to worry about, vandals or burglars getting into the home, but you get all that nice, fresh, cool air in a hot summer night, for instance. So we use these triple pane windows, which means that you can, read your favorite book and be cozy even next to the windows on the coldest day of the year. So bottom line is what we found is these buildings are super cozy. I live where you're seeing in the background in a zero energy home. I turned the heat on this winter. It's pretty typical, but this winter was December 15th of this year, of 2019, sorry. So I turned the heat on at December 15th, and the time I turned the heat on, the interior temperature of this space was 65 degrees. What we found is that in studying our homes, that even when homeowners have left during the coldest weeks, we ask them to actually keep the heat off. And the benefit to that is that the temperature stays about 60 degrees or warmer even during those coldest times. So super awesome. So moving on, another really cool benefit that we're seeing right now is just the durability of the envelope. So one of the things that we're doing from a durability standpoint is we are basically using the weather resistant barrier, and we're taping everything super fastidiously. So when we make an airtight building envelope, we use that weather barrier to make it tight. And you do all this stuff with these advanced tapes that we're mostly getting out of Europe right now, but there are some American-made products. I have an image of the zip system here. These buildings are super weatherproof. So really, to make them airtight, you make them extraordinarily weatherproof. We also are adding exterior insulation, like you can see here with this mineral board, which not only dries really easily, but what it's also doing is it's keeping the sheathing warm. You don't get condensation on the sheathing, and it's another weather protection. So beyond kind of health, comfort, durability, there's this resilience piece. And especially if you add things like cool Tesla batteries, you're actually able to run these zero energy homes almost indefinitely because you're continuously feeding energy to these batteries during the sunny parts of the day. They sip energy for heating and cooling. The batteries can basically work with their solar panels even when you're off grid or power is out for an indefinite period of time. And again, even if the power did go out and your battery didn't work, keep in mind that the place is going to stay likely above 60 degrees even the coldest days of the year. So resilience is another big piece. Another interesting trend that we're seeing in the industry of zero energy buildings is kind of coupling it with other resiliency measures like rainwater barrels or vegetable gardens. So you're kind of like a doomsday prepper now. You've got your rain barrels. Even if you don't have advanced filtration on those, you can use some iodine tablets or a camp filter in the case of an emergency. And then you've got enough water to take you across a few weeks or months if needed. For drinking water, you simply use your barrels. So it's pretty sweet. Last bit of resiliency that we're seeing, and it's kind of a trend. I actually live here. This is a 16-unit zero energy community with a shared commons. So we have a shared kind of common courtyard, shared common house, and shared gym. And so another piece to resiliency that we're seeing coupling up with zero energy is community. And so, with the current coronavirus pandemic, it's an acute reminder of the ways in which we're all connected right now, especially living alone or far from family members. And whether it's just the importance of being able to rely on your neighbors or see them, even if it's across a courtyard right now. We have someone here who's has cancer, and so I've been getting him groceries. Other folks have been helping the 94-year-old resident who's here, and just making sure that we're able to keep an eye on each other, and it's no one's just kind of dealing with this stuff alone. So another element to zero energy that you could consider from a resiliency standpoint, if you expand it to a community level, it really can be a super powerful tool for resiliency. So bottom line, based on the data we've been collecting on our own project sites and other sites in Oregon and across the US that are doing zero energy homes, we're seeing about 30 to 50% less PM 2.5 in the air. So it's better air quality inside. The buildings are much more comfortable, and they're really well set up for resiliency. So even during kind of the worst of times, we think they become oasis for people. And this is one of the earlier projects that we did from 2000, finished in 2014. This is a shot from 2015 in Ankeny Row. It's a zero energy project that's been producing more energy that's consumed since 2015. And again, a lot of the data was collected here. PSU in particular has done a lot of studies on that project. And that's, I think, all I've got. So I'm going to leave you guys now and thank you all. And I'm so honored to be last year's winner, and congratulations, Amy, for winning this year.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Stefan, for bringing this presentation to us today. I remember hearing last year, and I was looking forward to the following year when we would get to hear from you. So you're open to receiving some questions from us participants here?
Yes, I am.
Great, great. Is anybody who is on this call, if you raise your hand, if you have any questions for Stefan? Great, go for it, Don.
Stefan, when you were saying that these houses are super insulated, and I know the code, is one value, but are you exceeding the energy code?
Yeah, great question. So we're typically going about 30% beyond the current energy code. And so, a new home is going to be cozier than kind of an existing home these days. But again, to kind of get that energy load down low enough so that you can fit the solar panels that you need on your own roof, you still have to go a bit beyond that. And so typically what we're doing is a 2x8 thick wall instead of 2x6. And then we are also adding about 1.5 inches of exterior mineral wool is our standard. And then the triple pane tilt turn windows. Typically in an attic, you might see about 18 or 12 inches, actually 12 to 16 inches of insulation, depending on the type. We're typically using about 2 feet of cellulose.
Anybody else have any questions? Great, well, I do actually. I'm curious to know, so here you are, how long have you been in this community space that has been built? Have you lived there many years?
It's been almost 2 years, so about a little over 1.5 years. Yep.
So have you noticed, I guess, a difference in this past 5-6 weeks, whatever it might be for you, where maybe you've seen things in your own space that you might do differently, or that you might think about as an opportunity as far as energy saving for these unexpected times when we are really using, I guess you would say, using the house a lot because we're all in our homes 24/7 right now?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I think about energy a lot because we're actually energy monitoring this place. We're going for a zero energy certification by collecting all the energy data, and then we submit it. So over a year, we have to actually show that we produced as much as we've consumed. And so, we're looking at every single unit and the overall energy, including the energy we send to car chargers. And so I think about energy constantly. And I'm a pretty conservative user, but I'm probably on the more conservative end of things. But the bottom line is when people ask me in the community, like, hey, I noticed that, because there's a shared screen that shows everyone's energy use in a common space, and people can also look it up online for their own unit. They're like, okay, I noticed that we use a lot of energy, like what can we be doing? Bottom line is, like, the main uses of energy in a typical, when you get more efficient especially, it's going to be things like your washing machine, washer, dryer. Upgrading those is a really good idea if you don't have an Energy Star, washer, dryer, or dishwasher. Those are going to be huge, absolutely. If you're comfortable, but you notice that the heat is still kind of on, or you hear the fan running, just actually shutting that stuff off that you don't need. I think more often than not, we leave all kinds of things on that we don't realize or recognize. I do that. You know, I've been realizing it's comfortable enough. I've turned my ventilation system off and just crack the windows. It's not a lot of energy, but I'm a geek. So, you know, I'm trying to do all that stuff. You know, I think in the future we'll see smarter feedback systems that could probably turn some of this stuff off. Ventilation, we're usually trying to just get rid of carbon dioxide, actually, ultimately, and humidity. So there are new sensors that will do that for you. You know, typically when it's stuffy, that means CO2 levels are high. The other problem with new homes is they are tighter to begin with, even if they aren't super efficient. So having that designated fresh air to bedrooms is actually really important. So one other thing you can notice, if you're just feeling really stuffy in the house, when you're there all the time, you're like pumping out lots of CO2. Your dogs might be, your kids might be, it might feel stuffier. Like, yeah, it is. So crack a window because it might be harder to sleep at night with the high CO2 levels. So, you know, right now you can probably do that in our weather. So I don't know. Those are some things I think about.
Great, thank you for that. That's spot on. Oh, look, Wes, you have a question. Go for Wes.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation, Stephen. Could you talk about construction costs, the cost for zero home versus a typical home nowadays?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends a lot on who's building it and who's designing it, right? And so for us, we see if we were to boil things back, we're probably about 10% more to get to zero energy. And that would include the cost of the solar panels. Now, we are seeing production builders like Noise, N-O-Y-E-S, so like almost like Noise Development. They're doing about 50 homes a year as a developer, production builder. And they are doing some zero energy ready homes. And so I would imagine at a production level, they're able to do those at a lower cost than we are. But across the board, having been in this community for years, and you know, traveling around the country and talking to colleagues and talking to folks even at Noise, everyone's finding that typically you're in somewhere in the 5 to 10% more costs to get to those energy savings and ultimately those other benefits. We do think there's a lot of intrinsic benefit beyond that 10% cost accounts for, but even the net, we do see net present value being about 20% more over the lifetime of the building from just the energy savings alone. And if we consider a lifetime being about 40 years or so, and we think with zero energy buildings, lifetimes are going to be extended quite a bit more than that, just because of the durability measures.
Thanks.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for being able to do this today, Stefan. And I look forward to seeing if our members have any questions that they might want to. We could gather questions on Facebook after you watch the video, and then we could pass it on to you, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we have any follow-up questions. So thank you so much for just your effort in being here today, as well as for all the great information you shared. And I hope you have a very happy birthday this week, Stefan.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
Next week, we will have a speaker, and it will either be an individual who speaks around the world on the best practices for distributed workforces and working from home, as well as communication tips for using video for any kind of group gathering. Or our speaker could be this different individual who created a nonprofit for refugees that came out of their for-profit company. And now they also have just created a new initiative that uses techniques from lean manufacturing to create a safe shared workspace in this age of COVID-19. They both sound very interesting to me, and we know one of them is going to be for next week, and then the other one will probably be for the following week. But please just check your Spokes newsletter that you will receive at the end of this week, and that will tell you who the speaker will be next week. I would like to thank all of our speakers today. Thank you for being here. And thank you to our club's membership. whenever, wherever it is that you might be viewing this meeting. I hope that you might be watching this with your family. That would be great. Perhaps this is one way that you could celebrate Earth Day this week. Or maybe you're sharing this video with your friends so that they can not only understand what Rotary is, but what Rotary does in fellowship and in service. One more reminder to our members this week, make sure you check that Spokes newsletter, and you would hopefully be able to see that there is an update whenever we get them, updates to the service opportunities that our different service committees are working on. And you might also find additional information about a committee that in this time you might be wanting to join some new committees. So please, again, look at that list to find out what's going on within our club as far as our service work. As always, take care of you, take care of yours. Let's continue to have our fellowship with each other. Many different ways that we have been doing that as a group. Take 10, 15 minutes, reach out to the people that have an anniversary this month with Rotary and use that as a prompt to check in with them and see how they're doing, and just let them know that you appreciate being a Rotarian with them. Thank you all, everybody here, for joining us today, and this meeting is adjourned.